Good morning and welcome. My name is Sudhir Gajre. I'm head of GenAI at Lovelytics. I'm joined today with Tejas Pandit, AI architect on my team. On this last day at the Data and AI Summit, we have a very special guest with us, Archika Dogra. Archika, welcome and thank you for making time for us for this conversation. Archika is the product manager at Databricks for the intelligent document processing functions. Truly an honor and pleasure to have you today. Before we dive in AI functions, tell us a little bit about your role and the types of things your team is doing currently.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys both so much for having me this morning. And happy to kind of dive into what our team is thinking about on a day-to-day basis. Ultimately, at a very high level, our team's goal is to help our customers convert their unstructured data and documents into agent-ready data. So what exactly does that mean? Enterprises have a lot of documents like invoices, contracts, other legal agreements, other financial filings, etc. And there's a lot of very valuable enterprise context within those documents. And we see a lot of customers struggling to get agents to reason effectively and efficiently over that document set. And one of the main reasons is because agents can't read those documents very well. They really struggle to do that. And so those are some of the fundamental capabilities of our AI functions, is to really turn that data into something that's agent ready and ready for downstream consumption for a variety of like AI and agentic use cases.
You know, that's very interesting. And you use the word struggle. And we see that struggle in our enterprises with our clients a lot. And I'll give you a small example. The other day in the Wall Street Journal, I read a very interesting headline. The headline was, the latest AI models, the latest and the greatest LLMs, can solve these very difficult Erdos problems. For the sake of our viewers, Erdos is the Hungarian mathematician, and he has these set of problems which have been unsolved for like decades. And you throw a LLM at it, it can solve the problem. However, when we try to use AI models in the enterprise, they struggle with some very basic things, such as extracting information, as you said, from invoices. How do I bridge the gap? They are extremely compelling models to solve these complicated mathematical problems. At the same time, if I may use the word, dumb enough that they can't extract invoices. How do we rationalize that? How do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, no, that's a super fair point. So you're exactly right. We have all of these benchmarks where we've kind of proven that these frontier agents can go and solve the bar exam, which is a hard exam to kind of tackle. It can also go and there's like humanity's last exam, which is kind of like, is AGI here? They're getting better and better.
Yes.
Every single release on that exam as well. But what a lot of these benchmarks and stories aren't kind of measuring is, how do your agents do on your enterprise data and context? And that's proprietary to you. So every business's most important, proprietary leverage in the world of AI is their own data. And that data can come in a lot of different ways, shapes, and forms, such as these really messy enterprise documents that are really hard for even humans to kind of read and reason over. And we see that agents struggle over those grounded reasoning tasks on that data as well. And so we actually released our own benchmark. It's called Office QA.
Interesting.
Instead of measuring all of these crazy tasks, like can agents put shapes together in different on like a Tetris, for example, we wanted to actually measure economically valuable tasks. So these are tasks that we see our customers trying to do on their enterprise data, such as analytical reasoning, grounded in documents, answering questions, retrieving information, etc. And we decided to build this benchmark to better capture the tasks that our customers were trying to do and how agents performed on those. And so kind of for the reasons that we've just talked about, we actually saw that these like frontier agent harnesses got these questions wrong over 50% of the time.
Wow.
Because they struggled in part to read a lot of those documents.
Wow, that's super interesting. And watching Ali, by the way, I have learned to use the word super.
Super excited.
Super excited. And one of the points that Ali and I believe even Matei keeps making, that it really is not a model problem. It's not an intelligence problem. It's really a context problem.
Right.
So you and your team are solving a very critical context problem for our enterprises, which is great. In fact, I'm going to use the word which is super awesome. So speaking of that, though, why fundamentally is enterprise document intelligence such a difficult task? OCR engines have been around for like decades.
Yeah.
Why not just use a simple OCR engine? Why do we need intelligent document extraction?
Yeah. So, a lot of our customers are in this transition period of where they were historically using OCR engines because they didn't, have some of the newer tools and techniques out there. And we see that OCR kind of struggles in a few different ways. It's very literal, so it kind of looks at the text that's on the document and then tries to convert those into characters that are machine readable downstream. It doesn't really understand like the document hierarchy, layout, context, things that are more subtle and nuanced that give you a lot of enriched information about what lives in that document and how it's kind of composed within the structure of the document. And so what, our functions like AI parse document does is that it goes pretty much looks at your document. It figures out what kinds of elements are on the document. Are they titles, charts, tables, etc.? Then it goes in and obviously extracts the content within those different elements, but it provides you enriched data like bounding boxes, element type, generated figure descriptions for what it finds. And a lot of that, enrichment of that document structure is what's super valuable downstream so that agents can reason over them with that further context. So it's much more accurate, better at handling a lot of scanned, messy layouts that OCR kind of struggles on. It's pretty good on like simple documents, but not some of those more complex ones. And then also provides a lot more enriched information.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, we are Lovelytics and we are heavily biased towards Databricks. We use Databricks as our platform. We recommend that to our clients. However, sometimes we get a pushback from clients, fairly so. That being, hey, there are so many vision LLMs out there. There are so many open source libraries out there. Why do you recommend something like AI parse document or AI extract? So how do we justify using the built-in capabilities of Databricks as opposed to having an external call to maybe an open source model or a vision model or something of that nature?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think one of the answers to that is actually in the question that you just asked. There's so many of X, Y, and Z tools. How on earth do you choose which one is good at my specific task? Because, LLMs can code, they can answer questions about data that they learned on the internet from 2023 or something. They can write stories and stuff, but that's not what you're looking for when you're trying to do document extract or document parsing. And so we see that a lot of customers are overwhelmed with the choice, and it's a landscape that's rapidly changing. So like the LLM you use today is going to get deprecated in 8 months, and then you got to rebuild your whole pipeline. So there's that overwhelming sense of choice. Then as these customers are trying to really like retrofit these tools into their tasks, they end up building really complex pipelines. And ultimately, they don't really have a repeatable playbook of like, hey, I know this component does this task really well. I can not only use it for use case 1, but I can use it for use case 2, 3, and 4.
Makes sense.
They'll try to use the same tools on a different document set, and they're like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. And so that's why we invested in these highly specialized and capable building blocks, where we're saying, hey, we're going to set our research team, our engineering team, our product team on making this best in class at parsing, extraction, classification, these tasks that we know our customers are doing as part of their pipelines. And we're going to try to make this state of the art in quality. But then because we're specializing these, we can also make them very cost efficient.
I see.
You're not getting the overhead of using, a model that can do 10 billion other things that you don't care about for that specific task. You're using like a Databricks custom built system almost under the hood.
Yeah. So really, Lego blocks, repeatable patterns, solve a problem once, and just use it repeatedly across different use cases. That's the fundamental idea over here, and that makes complete sense. Since we are here at the GenAI Summit, and today it's Thursday, the keynotes have happened on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Can you tell our audience maybe 2 or 3 things that you think are particularly very interesting in your area that we should go try out right away?
Yeah. So we've announced quite a few things in our document intelligence suite at Summit. The first one is that almost all of our document intelligence functions are now generally available. So there's nothing stopping anyone from trying them today.
Thank you for that.
Definitely go ahead and do that. But we've also been working on a lot of really exciting capabilities. So one of the things that we're going to be releasing in our next release is basically built-in evaluations and iteration loops with Genie Code. So a lot of the announcements are around how capable Genie is as a business coworker, and then Genie Code as a technical coworker. And we see a lot of customers kind of get stuck in that POC to production pipeline because they struggle to iterate on 50 fields they're trying to extract across, maybe 100 ground truths, and they're going and manually figuring out what's wrong, what do I need to fix? Oh no, that regressed something. Let me go back and like fix it again. And Genie Code is going to be the way in the interface that it will put it in the driver's seat and it'll do that process for our customers on their document extraction tasks. So that's one of the really exciting things, the
Yeah,
eval and
yeah.
iteration experience that we're building out. We also have a lot of customers come to us with really lengthy documents, like 500 to 700 pages. They're trying to extract hundreds of things
You see
out of
that
it.
all the time. Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
today's LLMs just kind of give up on it. So again, they try to go figure out their own
Yeah.
tool. They're like, let me just use a model. I think it can do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do a very good job. And so we're releasing precision mode in our AI extract function.
Yeah.
And what that's basically going to do, it's going to achieve that frontier state-of-the-art quality on some of the most complex document tasks that our research team has seen. And so we really like our default mode works pretty well on most things, but if you want to make that explicit trade-off of using something more powerful for those documents, you now can.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, and then another thing is like our AI functions today are highly optimized for like batch processing workload.
That's right.
So
Yes.
scale, batch, data transformations, document transformations that you're trying to do. But we see a lot of customers trying to automate real-time workflows.
Okay.
And so we're going to be releasing by the end of the summer, real-time APIs that you can use in your applications as tools for your agents, streaming pipelines, even better. And so, yeah, those are just, there's more, I'm sure, but those are the top off top of my head.
There's quite a few. And one key thing we caught is evaluations, right? I always keep telling my clients that actually creating an AI agent is not that hard. Creating an AI agent the right way, which yields the right level of accuracy consistently over production workloads, is super hard. So how do you solve that problem? Evaluations. So thank you so much for building that in. That is very important. Well, I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague Tejas. He's going to go a little bit deep in some architectural questions.
Awesome.
Hi, Archika. So as architects, we spend a lot of time thinking about how to move proof of concepts demo into trustable, secure, and reliable production systems, right? So for AI functions for document parsing, document extraction, we don't get the traditional confidence score. So how would you recommend customers measure quality in production for such pipelines and use cases?
Yeah, great question. So funny enough, actually, we have built-in confidence scores for parse document and extract. Yeah, some of them are actually recent releases. So now with every single element that you parse, and then also every single field that you extract downstream, will give you a confidence score of how confident we think our systems did on that task. So that's super valuable signal in production for some of our customers. They kind of use it to like flag and triage things for secondary evaluation or, human in the loop workflows, especially in more sensitive pipelines. So that's definitely one way that we see a lot of customers using that in production. We also have citations for extraction. And so that's a really valuable signal and, transparency into like, hey, where did we actually think we got this field or this piece of information from within that document. So again, grounded in your own enterprise context. And so those are two features that we think are pretty helpful for that, POC to, okay, now this is running in production. What signal do I have to make sure that thing's going too crazy?
Okay, awesome. So that's really good because once we get the confidence score from that pipeline, that's what's going to build the production monitoring frameworks and dashboards for clients and production. So my next question is like, how would a strong and robust evaluation framework looks like for such intelligent document pipeline in production for clients and for different use cases, whether it's Excel, PDF, any various files?
Yeah. So I can kind of talk through like some of the most successful evaluation journeys that our customers have had. And one thing that I think people don't realize as much is that putting in the work early and getting a diverse ground truth data set is like super valuable. And especially a lot of customers kind of already have this, like they have this, maybe this pipeline has been running in a manual way in the past, or they just have that from like some subject matter experts or historical work that they've done. And so that really helps our customers systematically hill climb quality. They kind of know what good looks like, they know what tasks they want to achieve, and with that together, then they can like get to much better results a lot faster. So that's one of the kind of best practices that I've seen. And then in production, I think what we do recommend is that keep that ground truth data set and kind of use that as like a regression suite. So like maybe like every day, if that pipeline's running, like run that through your eval once and just make sure that everything looks good. Or if you're getting like low confidence documents and
Yeah.
you're seeing trends around them, add that into your regression suite or your testing suite
Right.
iteratively, so that then it represents more and more of the documents coming through your pipeline.
Yeah.
So those are kind of two ways that
Yeah.
we've seen that. We've also kind of started seeing some customers experiment with like LLM judges that like take a look at the document, the output, and the
Right.
metadata we provide, like confidence scores and citations,
Yeah.
and try to reason over how well it thinks that the task was achieved.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a lot of ways, but like start simple, start with, what we're all kind of,
Yeah.
used to, the ground truths, and then go from there.
Right. So on that topic, right? So how would you recommend customers? So let's say if they don't have any ground truth or any data set, right? How would you recommend, or what is the fastest path to creating such golden data set without manually labeling all these documents and doing months of work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you don't want to, have to manually label it, one of the ways that we saw customers doing this before we had AI extract was that they would give it to a super powerful agentic harness or model
Right.
and try to like make it come up with an initial set of extractions, and then they just go in and their tasks, rather than it becoming like, I have to create this by myself, it's just like, I have to validate that this
Yeah.
looks good.
Good.
And so with like precision mode and things coming like that and things like that coming out,
Yep.
we think that could be maybe something you even get started with. Was like, let me give this to something that I know is the best at doing this task. It's highly powerful. See if it kind of can create those ground truths for me, because it probably won't be wrong on everything.
Yes.
And it'll probably be pretty accurate actually, and then go from there basically.
Oh, thank you. And so, what are the other failure modes you have seen for document pipelines in production?
Scale. Yeah. So everyone goes through the quality thing and they're like, wow, we're ready to put this in production.
Right.
And then they like start ramping it up on their workload and they're like, I'm running into, rate limits, like things are getting throttled, like things are breaking, it's not robust. And then that just becomes on its own headache.
Right.
And that's actually why we built AI functions on the infrastructure that we built it on. So it's optimized for large scale batch workloads, which means that it actually handles auto scaling for you. It parallelizes your requests so that it happens a lot faster and you don't have to write the logic to do that. And then it also handles retries. So we'll retry it a sensible amount of times if we, for some reason fail on a request, and bring that back to you in that batch. And if one row in the batch fails, the rest will go through anyway. So it's very robust to failure. And so, so performance is one of the things. And then the other thing is cost. So then again, they go out and they find some like API and they're like, this does well. And then they go to their manager and they're like, this is how much it's going to cost me on 1 million documents. And their head of whatever team is like, no, I'm not going to pay for that.
Right.
And that's why another one of the reasons why we built these functions is because they're highly specialized to these tasks. We can make them very performance and cost efficient. So we have some benchmarks that we've been showing at the keynote and throughout the week, and we have published as well. And on that cost quality curve, we're sitting at the Pareto frontier.
Right.
And that's like a huge consideration for why customers choose us, because they know we'll scale with them.
So as we talked with Sudhir before, so many customers have created ensemble models, right? So you have an OCR function, you then have AI pass document, you have a vision LLM, and then either you combine all of them or you have like a smart routing on top of them, right? So in which cases you would recommend going in such way, and in which cases you would just recommend going with just like a single function AI pass document because that handles all?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I always try to encourage customers to like try to make their pipelines as simple as possible, because it becomes a maintenance overhead the more tools that you try to get to talk to each other and fallbacks that you have.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think unless there's like a specific reason why you need to like duplicate services or like have a fallback, I would really focus on like, okay, can the building blocks that you have today do the things that you need it to do? And then if not, sure, like maybe like add a VLM because you need something more rich from like an image that's like bespoke to your needs. But yeah, I think a lot of customers have found success just kind of using the simple building blocks. And then again, that turns into a repeatable playbook where you don't need to start from scratch every time with a new use case.
So Archika, there was a great discussion between you and Tejas where you guys went into the deep dive architectural constants. Let's talk some real use cases. I know you work with a lot of customers. We work with a lot of customers. What are some of the common use cases you're seeing these functions are very capable at solving?
Right. Yeah, tons of stuff. People are trying to do all kinds of things with their documents.
Yes.
So I'll try to talk about one or two of them. So I think lowest hanging fruit that people are seeing in terms of ROI of what they can do with document intelligence is automating business operations and workflows. Like there's a ton of things that where a document comes in, some human has to go make some decision on that document or extract some kind of data and then make a decision. And a lot of that is like very manual today. And it's kind of crazy that how I go and talk to customers and I see how many of these processes still kind of exist and how they themselves kind of complain like this is really inefficient. Like we want our human resources to be doing other things other than just, you know, my legal analyst going and extracting the terms from these contracts.
That's right.
And so that's one of the biggest things. It's kind of these agentic workflows where it's like, how do you turn a process or a set of steps that a human makes in terms of decisions that come out of a document and the other context they know about your business into something that's automated.
That's right.
So that's one of the biggest ones that we see. And then we obviously see a lot of customers trying to build like knowledge work solutions, so search and retrieval on top of their documents to better enable their workforce on a set of enterprise data. And then we're starting to see, well, a lot of our functions actually are behind Genie. So Genie is a very capable business insights agent at Databricks. And so people are using Genie to create reports, schedule those reports as tasks over the data that's coming in, a lot of which is living in documents, and pretty much ask questions and like use it as that business coworker. Now that we are turning those documents in an enterprise context in a way that agents can read a lot better and more efficiently.
That makes a lot of sense. So I guess we have to wrap up here soon. And again, I want to really thank you for your time. Any last minute advice you have for our customers? Of course, our advice is use Databricks. It's a complete end-to-end holistic platform. I suspect you probably have the same advice as well.
Definitely use Databricks. And then, you know, another thing that I don't know if customers actually realize this is that the #1 job of like our product team at Databricks is to go talk to customers. So every PM here talks to like 5 to 10 customers a week. So if there's feedback that you have on the product, we're super accessible. So go to your, you know, sales team, account representative, ask them, hey, can I talk to this PM because I have this feedback? And that product manager will be very, very happy to see that come through. So help us make this product better for you and make your lives easier and let you go home a little bit earlier in the day.
Well, I suspect you're going to be flooded with a lot of calls now. But thank you so much for spending time with us. I think one of the key things is when we talk to a lot of customers, when we talk to our peers, the question that comes up is, what's a good model? How do I reason over this context? I think the most important point that Archika made is really your context. Your business context is very important. And the AI functions the team is developing are super critical in really extracting that context from unstructured documents. So then you can pass it down to your reasoning model and do all the workflow automations you mentioned. So thank you so much again. And we are a big fan of you and your team. And we will be sure to use the functions and give you guys feedback. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.